Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. One of my old friends, one of my dearest friends in the world, Will Reilly, is back. Will is a lifetime member of the PGA of America. He's the current head pro at Sailfish Sands Golf Club in Stuart, Florida, which is on the East Coast side of Florida. Grew up with him, played a lot of golf with him. He's like my big brother. And Will has good news. He has finally released a book that he's been working on for some time. I highly suggest it. I've read it. Power Principle Golf. And he's going to simplify the golf swing as it should be simplified. I can't tell you how many times I've caddied for people I've played golf with that I know I can help them. And really what it gets down to in the end is understanding the power source of the golf swing and getting back to being an athlete and not thinking so much about the technical side of golf. Will has helped me with that throughout the years, and he's going to help you with that as well. And you can help him by purchasing his book on Amazon. Power Principle Golf by Will Reilly. He is our guest. Oh, by the way, we have a new sponsor. I'll get into that. And I'll explain why you should patronize Violet Spa in Sarasota. But first, some of the housekeeping stuff. If you haven't subscribed to the show, please do so. Please like it. That makes a difference in the actuarial science of things, the algorithms, and why people choose this podcast over other golf podcasts. I like to think it's because we're better, because we do things differently. And we find interesting people, and we take a deep dive into who they are and what makes them tick. All right, so the new sponsor is Violet Spa in Sarasota. It's owned by two of my dear friends, Nicole and also Karen. So if you're looking for a way to recharge after a tough round of golf on the golf course, if you need a cold water plunge, if you need an infrared sauna, red light therapy, or a biocharger, great place to relax and be a princess or a prince for the day. I went there a couple weeks ago, absolutely loved it. And I know you will love it too. Violet Spa. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of beer, try Party. And if you don't have Party at your golf course, you need to talk to the people in charge and say, hey, we need to get that stuff here because it's the hottest drink in Florida and it's sweeping across America. For golfers, by golfers, way better than the stuff named after a time of day or a crustacean that crawls across the bottom of the ocean. And if your dream is to live in a golf real estate area like Lakewood National Golf Club, where this podcast originates from, nobody better than the golf pros or the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoastdreams.com. Lakewood Ranch, Florida, 7 straight years, the number one community to live in America. And Lakewood National Golf Club, no better place. 2 Arnold Palmer designed golf courses. There are vacancies. And so if you want a taste of the good life like we're living here at Lakewood National, get in touch with Gene and Vince, suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. All right, so that's the housekeeping stuff. Let's bring my man, Will Reilly, on board. Will, how have you been, buddy? Where are you joining us from?
I am down in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it is as humid as you can imagine. But I actually think it's cooler here than where we grew up in Huntington Valley. It's hot up there right now, and they all want to come down to Florida because we have the sea breeze. But they don't understand the heat down here, Kev.
It's a different level. It really is. And the difference is the sun. I mean, the temperature and the numbers can be the same, but it's the intensity of the sun. I've heard it's an angry sun down here. Does that sound about right to you?
That's a good way to put it. I mean, you go out to the middle. Well, we have friends out who live in the desert, and they tell me how hot it is. And I go out there, and I don't feel it, you know. But when you get down here in the summer, and you're on the beach, and that sun's hitting you, and it's humid, you can't stay out there long. It's impossible.
Well, you're a little closer to the beach than I am. I'm about 15 miles inland in Lakewood Ranch, just a little bit northeast of Sarasota. and it's bloody hot, but fortunately we have pools and we can
Yeah.
take a drive to the ocean and we can cool off, and or we can go to BioLit Spa in Sarasota to take care of all that stuff. Listen, man, I am so damn proud of you. Your book, finally, it's been released. I know this has been a labor of love for a long, long time. It seems like forever. Why don't you take me back to the beginning when the genesis of wanting to write a book all started?
I had such a bad memory that I used to write everything down, and I had so many great experiences. I got to play with Greg Norman, and Gardner Dickinson was my teacher. And when we were at the Loxahatchee Club, I met all these great players, and I hated doing the same thing wrong more over and over. So I started writing down my notes, and then I got home and I was given lessons, a lot of lessons, and I had to draw some kind of a constant. I couldn't think of, there's got to be a secret to golf. And at the time, I was going through a divorce, and I started to listen to a lot of book tapes. And one guy that grabbed my attention is obviously Albert Einstein. It was unbelievable. And I found out we had the same birthday. And in the book, I joke that we were born on Pi Day, 314. But I like a different kind of pie that he does. He likes the number. I like that blueberry with vanilla on it. That's my favorite pie. But I joke about it because the book is full of stories like that, and jokes and places that I was able to see and meet people that I learned from. And we learn every day from everything we do. And that's how I learned that the simplest way to understand golf, every movement, putting, chipping, full swing, is where and how you're generating power. Because it's only one thing. It's the one constant that exists in every movement of the golf swing. And once I understood that, I started to understand that your hands only really sense everything. They feel the weight of the club. They feel the club move around your body. They feel the ball at impact. And all of that information, all that feedback is entered into your subconscious every day. And we use it constantly, our past experiences, to help our future experiences. And I did it for a long time. And then I started to work at South Deschamps, and I had two of my buddies I was working with, my GM and my first assistant, and they had misconceptions about the golf swing. And I was trying to find a way to communicate it to them, because I gave them the power principle, and my GM was he just kept using his hands and his arms for everything as hard as he could. And I said, that's a paradox. You know that, don't you, Mike? Mike Saunders, we call it the Saunders swing syndrome. He said, what do you mean? I said, the harder you hold the club.
Do you really call it that?
Yeah. Well, the power paradox, that's what motivated me to name it the power paradox, was Mike. And Mike's awesome. He's an old Marine. He was in Afghanistan, and he's a super athlete, but he got away with too much. And he would rotate his forearms through the ball. Where he moved a little bit ahead of it, it's dead right. Physics of golf, And so we started working on the power paradox, and then Wyatt, who was my first assistant to teach most of the programs with, had a hard time understanding how your body coils as you rotate. So we sat down, and I said, well, when your body rotates, there's a ratio between the rotation and the resistance of the rotation. Just like any other sport, when you throw a ball, your body resists as you go back, as you rotate, and that's what creates the muscles, to elongate, creating coil, like anything else, and that brings you back to the ball. So that's actually the rotation versus resistance ratio is actually because of Wyatt, because of his inability to understand the concept. So these newer concepts in the power principle just came from really just suffering through with these guys.
And that's how we learn, right? We have to suffer before we see the light. And one of the ways that we see the light is sometimes simplifying things. In its simplest sense, is the power principle getting back to just really swinging the body, and the hands and everything else are along for the ride?
It is. It really is back to Ernest Jones and really kind of a classical thought. Big muscle creates all the energy, and your hands and arms are whipped around your body. Just like if you throw a ball, we all used to play baseball. I was a catcher, and I get up it was great when you caught. You didn't have to think about anything. Golf, you have to think. If a guy's stealing a second, you get up out of your crouch and you throw it, and your whole body throws the ball. It rolls off your fingertips. You don't hold the ball tight in your hand. You couldn't hold the ball tight in your hand.
And you don't hold the golf club tight in your hand either.
Now you hold the golf club. You hold the golf club with relaxed grip, like Ben Hogan would say. And in the story, I have in the book, I have a story about Ben Hogan. When I met Ben Hogan at the golf show, I was top flight player of the year. Very honored to meet Ben Hogan, because Ben Hogan was my teacher's teacher. Gardner Dickinson was my teacher at the time, and Ben Hogan, he was mentored by Ben Hogan, and so I have all these great memories. And I met Ben Hogan. I only got to meet him for 10 minutes as I received the award. He gave it to me. It was phenomenal. And I went back to my dad and I said, "Hey, Dad, I just did this thing with Ben Hogan." He said, "No, you didn't." I said, "Well, sure I did. I got him to sign this thing for you." And my dad used to work at Marion, and he had that picture of Ben Hogan hitting that shot at Marion. And I gave
the famous one iron on 18. Yeah, the
famous
plaque still in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, and I got. They were very nice to give me 4 copies signed by Mr. Hogan for all the men in my family who are PGA members. My brother Hugh, my brother Michael, my father were all PGA. So they all have them in their office too. Which you hate to see them throw them out or go somewhere, because it's kind of a cool thing, obviously.
Oh, it is. But, what was it like just meeting him? Because I never met Mr. Hogan, but I've met Jack Nicklaus briefly and Arnold Palmer. And I could hardly talk. That's usually not a problem. What was it like for you?
I get that way around Jack. But meeting Mr. Hogan, he was unfortunately he passed away about 5 months later. He wasn't talking a whole lot, but I did ask him one question. I said, what's the secret to the gospel? Because I was searching at the time. He said, "You got to make it simple." He looked at me and said, "You got to make it simple." Because that was when he finally perfected his swing. It was with that cupped wrist, and he called that the secret, and that enabled him to fade the ball. Well, once he could hit a consistent fade, it was over for a lot of the guys on tour, because he was so consistent. He was so long, and he could putt and chip. He had he was the predecessor to Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. So those great players, they struggled to find things that worked for them, because they were all different body types and they thought differently. And, back then everyone was just trying to teach what worked for them. But nowadays we have all this information with Flight Scope and TrackMan and everything else. When you get out there, you can figure out very quickly what makes the ball go further and straighter just by hitting shots and just by looking at numbers.
Right.
They didn't have that advantage. And Sam Snead used to tell me, we owned a company with Sam Snead called the Sam Snead Swing Simulator, and I asked him the same thing. I said, "What's the secret to the golf swing, Sam?" He said, "You've got to turn." And that was my first inkling of power, because when you turn, you create power, and that's when I really started to kind of catch on and develop the power principle. And it's very simple. It applies to every philosophy or methodology or technique. It's just a very simple. Power is energy. Energy you harness on your backswing and you transition into your downswing. You're yet in the original introduction about it being athletic. Yeah, if you can make the golf swing athletic, then you're playing at a completely different level, because most people get into their heads too much, and they look at all the little subtle nuances of movement, and they don't realize that that smaller power sources like your hands and arms will always acquiesce to larger power sources like your rotation, your big muscles in your legs and your back and your abs. And once people get a good feeling for that effortless feeling, and that's what we explain in the power principle, that effortless energy that you create that hits the ball further than any shot you've ever hit, people don't understand it. That is a paradox. That's the power paradox. So when your hands are relaxed, they're moving around your body much faster than if you were pulling them down and using your lower body as a base. So a lot of people that play golf on weekends, they don't have active lower bodies. They hunker down with their lower body and they swing around it with their hands and arms. They hit that big cut out there, and they can't understand why the face won't square up. It's because they're pulling it down. They're holding it very tight. The face can't square up if you're holding it tight. It's just going to stay open. If you're right-handed, so you're going to hit it out there to the right. And it is very simple to understand the premise of power, or as energy transitions into power. It sounds complicated, but it's very simple. It's just like any other sport. When you build up energy, correctly on your backswing, for all intents and purposes, that swing's over because you're only going to release that energy athletically. But if you get yourself in a bad spot on your backswing, you've moved off your right side, you haven't coiled your lower, but whatever it is, your upper body instinctively is going to react to that position.
It's trying to save it. It's trying to save it. And it's all over. It's just like you're sliding down a hill. You're going down. All right. You're not going to stop it.
You're not going to stop till you hit the bottom. And that's a good way to say it, Kevin. You said it there. You're trying to save it. And a lot of us try to save it, but when we've got it in a good position, we build up a lot of power, we just let it happen. We just experience it. We stay still and watch the club hit the ball, and we go, "How did I do that?" And a lot of people don't know how they did it, and that's kind of the frustrating thing for people. That that's why I came up with the power principle. I don't like to see people frustrated, because when I was a kid, I was frustrated learning the golf swing. So I was a searcher my whole life, until about 30 years ago, when I started this long track, and I think I named the power principle about 30 years ago. I've been teaching it for 30 years, and finally got it on paper. I finally had some time in my life to get it done, and I'm really happy that I was able to get that thing out. So,
well, I'm happy, and everybody else will be happy. And if you don't mind, Will, if we could probe a little bit, you say you started like putting the stuff down on paper and everything because you had trouble with your memory, and then you were going through a difficult time in your life with a divorce, and it gave you something to focus on. But was there not something else that happened in your life fairly recently that just said, I need to start looking at some other things, I need to get this down now?
Yeah. Funny story. Not a really funny story for me, but I was out, my staff had left, and I was out picking the range for the restaurant that has 20 hitting bays. And I was tripped over the range cart as I was loading the balls into the washer, because the head pro at the golf course, we redo everything. If someone leaves and we can't get something done, we have to do it ourselves. And you know that. I've always been that way wherever I was. And I ended up getting in a boot and didn't realize that when you're diabetic, if you get a sore on your foot, it could get infected pretty quickly. And yeah, I ended up getting 4 infections, sores on my foot, and 3 of them drilled to the bone. And then I ended up, unfortunately, my Achilles tendon burst and ruptured because of the medication they gave me. And I just got that repaired. So I said to myself, I haven't really walked on 2 feet in about a year and a half. And I just took it as a blessing, honestly, from God. God's saying to me, "Will, get everything you want to get done now, because you're going to be back to work soon." Right. And so I did.
Yeah, you got it done. It was an unfortunate thing, but sometimes that's the blessing in disguise that finally gives you the push that you needed. And but really, this has been in the works for 20, almost 30 years.
Yeah, it is. It's been in works for the longest time. But I don't think it would have been as interesting if I hadn't run into the guys at Selfish Hands, because the power paradox, and we do something called glide chipping, where you don't take a divot, and that's really super interesting. That's something that people can really learn from at Helper Games, and it was great getting it done. And the other project that I'm almost done. My publisher said it'll take another 2 weeks. Was family golf that I started about 15 years ago, and very, very blessed to have Jack Nicklaus write the foreword for the book. Rudy Duran, Tiger's coach, wrote a chapter. John Godwin, my mentor from U.S. Kids, also wrote a chapter on club fitting. And it's a long book, but it's about getting your family started with you in golf in the most enjoyable way possible. So I'm really proud that we're getting that done. And we have a little cartoon family that guides them through the book called the Ball Family. We have Ace is the dad, Birdie's the mom, Chip is one of the kids, and Sandy is the girl. And they're all golf terms that we use. And But yeah, I'm really happy to get that done. But yeah, you're right. You get lemons, you make lemonade. Something happens, you don't complain about it. You look at it as an opportunity. And I was very, very blessed to go through what I'm going through, because it just made me a more patient person. I can't.
Well, when we talk about family golf, I mean, we could talk about your family because it all starts there. Why don't you tell the story? How many PGA pros do we have in the family?
At one time, we had 6. We had 4 PGA professionals and 2 apprentices, and they were going through the program. Now we're back down to 4. And in the book, there was a picture of my entire family on the 18th hole at Huntington Valley Country Club with their golf bags and their dogs and their kids. That's on the inside of the book. And we were always a golf family. We went to work with our dad. My brothers and I worked on the grounds crew, and we worked inside, and we weren't, if we weren't working, we were playing. My sisters helped my mom in the golf shop, no matter where we were, either Abington Club or Twining Valley. And it was great because, when your dad's a golf pro, the only time you really get to see him a lot is at work. The only problem with that is sometimes, when you're at work, you have a different relationship with him. Right. But we always loved it. We were with the Willingboro Country Club at the time. We would go there. Abington Club was after that, and then Twining Valley kind of at the same time. But we are very blessed. I mean, I'm one of 7. Everyone in my family played golf or at one time or plays now. And it's really helped us stay together. I look at other people that really don't talk to their siblings as much. I talk to my siblings every day because we have so much shared experience, so much commonality. So many things in common that we always did together. So they're not only my brothers and sisters; they're like my best friends too.
Well, but even so, you have to have an event. You have to have something that brings everybody together. And your family has always had golf. And there are a lot of people that are new to the game, largely because of COVID, and they're now seeing what the rest of us always. I don't think we took it for granted. I thought we felt very fortunate to have those opportunities. But then when you're on the golf course with people, you just have like a wonderful opportunity to connect with them throughout the time. Tell me this, because your younger brother, Michael, who's also a PGA pro, he's now the GM at North Hills, past guest on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks and the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro in the greater Sarasota area, and BioLit Spa in Sarasota. Michael told me, I said, when you're playing with members, how helpful are you to them? And he said his policy is, I won't give advice unless it's asked for. How did you handle that when you played with folks?
Yeah, my dad always taught us that, because we would go to tournaments and other people come up to us and say, hey, you should do this or that. And my dad always said, be very gracious and say, thank you very much. And then just don't listen to them at all, because everybody wants to tell you what to do. But we were so blessed to have a dad who was a golf professional, who was really ahead of his time as far as theory and some other things, when he knew so much about the game in a different way that we learned, and I learned on the lesson too. I would walk up to someone and I want to help them. And I'd say, do you mind if I help you? And they'd say, yes, I mind. I said, okay, excellent. I'd walk away. And I found that when I did give information, that it wasn't really appreciated as much as when someone was paying for a lesson. When someone was paying for a lesson, they were much more open to everything you had to say, because, they're invested. Right. But yeah, I agree with Michael. Our dad taught us that. It's never give unsolicited information to anybody, because it may not be wanted, and you have to respect that. You have to respect what the person's out there working on or practicing. But I will say to people, hey, do you need any help? And
that opens the door. That opens the door.
And I love helping people. And so when that does happen, they'll say, yeah, can you look at my putting? I'll say, yeah, I love looking at putting. And no one ever asks for putting help, but that's really kind of my niche, is with the putting. And I've done it for a long time, because it's so simple. It's so easy to take somebody who's not a good putter and make them a good putter in literally, a couple months. I mean, a really high level putter. But to take someone who's older, who's getting into golf, and have them hit the ball, a lot further and a lot more consistent, is extremely difficult. It takes a lot of, you've got to work out. You've got to be in tune with a lot of the motions you're making and understand where they're coming from. And a lot of people have past muscle memory that make that a challenge. But yeah, I love teaching chipping and putting because I know I can fix someone in just a couple of days. And that's the most rewarding thing. When people come to you, they come to your office and they say, man, I can't believe how well I'm putting. And I always tell them, listen, you did the heavy lifting and you opened up. You asked for help. And I'm always willing to help you. I'll even jump out of the putting green with someone, and not even when I'm giving a lesson. We have these tournaments on Fridays. When I was working, we had a putting tournament every Friday. And I would go out there and help people. And that would help drum up lessons. It also helped customer service at my place. But more than anything, I just love doing it. I love going out and putting with people. It just doesn't take a lot of energy. You can do it late at night. And we have a beautiful wave green at South Fish Sands that is just beautiful, rolling moguls on the green. And it makes it so much fun to try to figure out the breaks on the green. So
you got to fall in love with your short game because that's the whole game. I mean, that really is. Is it any wonder that 70% of the time of PGA Tour pros is spent like 120 yards and in? Because the math and the numbers and the money are there.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite with people who prioritize things that are harder, like driving the ball. They think it's much easier now than it ever was. But people will go do things they like to do. No one likes to jump in a bunker and hit sand shots if you're not good at it. Right? No one likes that at all. But they don't like going out and putting because they think it's easy. It's simple. People think putting is luck. It is far from luck. When you understand how to use your mind to project outcomes when you're putting and you see a ball rolling a certain way and you access an old memory of the ball rolling that way and you make the putt and you say to yourself, I knew I was going to make that. I wonder why. Because your brain is telling you made that putt last time you hit it and this is how it happened. And people don't think on that level. Honestly, they don't. I don't want to be critical, but when you start to use your mind to putt, it's a different story.
We all have some good memories. Right? We have a lot of bad memories, but we got to just erase them. But that sparked a memory in me when I was talking with Jim Roy, who's one of my neighbors here at Lakewood National Golf Club, and he was talking about when he qualified for the Champions Tour. He was in a playoff, and he had like a 7 or 8 foot putt, and it was, well, if not for the pressure, it was a pretty easy putt. And he's looking at it and everything, and he knew what it was for. And as he was walking the ball, he said, you've made 1,000 of these putts in your life. It's just one more. And he rolled it right in the heart.
Yeah, I've had a couple of situations like that where I was out at Oakmont for our state putting championship, and I was just so nervous. And the greens were 15, and I got there just in time. I flew out there and just got to the team. They pulled me out last, and I had a 4-footer to win the state putting championship. And Kevin, I almost missed it. I hit the top of the ball, and the greens were so fast. I looked up and it went in, and I don't know why I was so nervous. How many 4-footers have I made in my life? And then I got to go and play the World Championship with, it was tied with Chip Beck and Christy Kerr after the first round for low pro. So that then it's amazing how these things, one thing leads up to the other. And when I was a kid, you remember how bad a putter I was when I was a kid? Short putter. My brother Hugh used to make fun of me all the time. He used to just laugh when I had a short putt.
He used to torture you, and it actually made for good theater, and we've talked about this before, and I wrote about it in some of my books, just like the psychological warfare that was going on between you and Huey, and sometimes it escalated into club throwing and threats and chasing around the golf course. And then me and your Uncle Pat would be on the side of the green, and we're just looking at each other, just enjoying the comedy show that was going on. But then very quickly, you forgot it, and you moved on, and we're playing golf again.
Oh, yeah. We forgot at the next hole. And Huey had a huge advantage over me, is he was way faster than I was. So he could get me run. He could outrun me with a golf bag over his shoulder. That's how fast he was. And he needed to be. He needed to be fast because he had a little devil in him, my mom used to say. He'd love to get you upset, and he would just watch you melt down. And it definitely over the years made me a better player. I have a lot of situations where I probably told you one of them when we were playing Cardinal Doherty, where he knocked my teeth out. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
didn't mean to, but then he's running the fairway. I get up and I threw that golf club over my head as hard, as fast as I could, and he tripped, and it went right where he would have gone. So thank God he tripped. But yeah, we went at it. We went at it. It was funny. I had blood down my shirt. The kids from Docker were in shock. They were like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
It's just another day with the Reillys. I mean, that's how I saw it, because people that didn't know you, when you guys would start acting up, they'd look at me and I'm like, it's all right. It's just going to pass.
It'll be fine.
Ignore it. It's just, everything's fine.
And when you're in the heat of the moment, you're just like, you're losing your mind. But you should have seen us playing ping pong. Anytime, my mom bought us 50 ping pong paddles, because anytime someone lost a game of ping pong, they'd snap the paddle in half.
That's true. That's true. There was like a graveyard of broken paddles, like in the back of your old basement on Boyd Road. And, guests that would come over, they're like, what is that? I'm like, oh, you'll see. You'll see.
We played so much ping pong, we had to fix them. So we kind of made our own paddles. And I made this big paddle with this different plastic. And it was probably illegal. But Huey's a great ping pong player, too. He takes lessons in ping pong. So,
yes, he got a lot of other kids that were not very good. He really coached them up, and they became very good. Will, if we can go, Will Reilly is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by BioLit Spa in Sarasota. Party drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. Got a whole bookcase of them behind me. I'm going to crack one open, Will, when we're done here. And if you're looking for golf real estate, no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club in the greater Sarasota area, and no better team than the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Fizicaro, suncoastdreams.com. Will Reilly, author of The Power Principle Golf. We're winding it down here, Will, just in its simplest form. Like you talked about, using the big body, keep it simple and everything. I imagine stretching, a good stretch, is going to have a lot to do with everything you're preaching. Yes?
Stretching is the most important thing you can do before you play. And not coincidentally, my dad invented the Randy Myers golf stretching pole. And it's the most widely used stretching device in the golf world. We make them for the Ryder Cup every year. Randy Myers is the Ryder Cup guru. He goes and stretches the guys, because if you're not stretched and your body's you have no elasticity in your muscle, you can't create any power. If you're not stretched out, you've got to use your small muscles for power. But if your big muscles are stretched, you're going to turn very quickly, and you're going to keep your balance, because there is no power without balance. So when you're stretched out and you're making that big turn and you're harnessing your energy, it makes it much easier to transition and generate a lot of club head speed when you're staying still and the club's whipping around you. So yeah, stretching is huge. I also want to mention those Party drinks. I had one of those the other day, and I had no idea how good they were. I really didn't. I was like, I'll try one of those. Kevin drinks those. Yeah, I forget what flavor it was. It was fantastic. But
Transfusion, the grape one, that is far and away. Well, here's a story about that. I tell this on sales.
It was the grape one.
Oh, it's so good. Well, here's a little backstory for those that are not in the know. A lot of people think it's a new drink. It's not a new drink. It's a very old drink, but it's a very parochial and clubby drink. It was only known to like private country clubs in the Philadelphia area and Washington, D.C. That was it. And then a couple of years ago, it went mainstream, and now everybody wants it because it's so refreshing and it's delicious. And it doesn't like make you feel fat and full like a beer would. But I don't know if you know this, Will, but I used to drink Transfusion when I was in high school because I was trying to be sneaky. And it turns out I wasn't fooling anybody, and nobody cared.
I used to drink no one cares. I used to drink the Virgin Transfusions in the 19th hole Huntington Valley Country Club.
Because I had a lot of those. Yeah, because they're just so good. And, as an adult, you might want to take a little edge off. And really the secret sauce in all the Party products is the quality of the vodka. It's distilled 6 times. It's super smooth, and that's the mark of a good drink, is a good spirit. And when you have a good spirit, it's just like a house. Good foundation, good house, good spirit, good drink. That's what Party is.
Yeah. Now, I don't drink much anymore, but when I do, I do like vodka with some kind of a mixer, and that Transfusion, that is really good. That's my favorite.
That might give you a little swing lube before you start too. But as you mentioned, the importance of stretching, I get so annoyed with myself because I have one of your dad's stretching poles. It's in my garage. It's right next to my truck. So, I can go out and warm up and do it. And sometimes I get a little lazy about that. I'm not lazy with anything, but sometimes, and then I'm a couple over after a few holes, and now I'm like stressing, and I'm annoyed as hell with myself because I didn't take 5 or 10 minutes to stretch, and that probably would have eliminated those loose shots that led to some early on bogeys. Will,
and people don't realize you can use the stretching pole while you play, and tour players do. Darren Clark used a stretching pole during his Open victory. Had it in his bag. A lot of guys have stretching poles in their bag, but they put their head cover on top of it, so you can't see. You see the head cover. That's actually a stretching pole. But whenever the camera pans to it, because it's it's a product, they don't get the guys on tour using the stretching pole as they're playing. Now and then they will, but few and far between.
Well, I saw Paul Azinger on the golf course, and I was using a stretching pole. He said, "Hey, I need one of those." Your dad tracked him down and got him a stretching pole, so there's got to be one in his bag. Hey, just Will, bottom line it. What are people going to get out of? What is it that you want them to take away? Say a lot and a little after they read Power Principle Golf.
I want them to play more golf. I want everyone to enjoy golf as much as you and I do. And let's face it, when you play good golf, you want to play some more. When you're hitting the ball solid and you understand why you're making your mistakes, because most people don't. For a long time in my life, I didn't understand why I was making the mistakes I was making. Well, now it's easy. You make the mistakes you're making because you don't understand how to develop energy and how to transition it, how to understand power in your golf swing. Once you understand how power is created and how it's used, golf is a lot easier. And I say this to people. This is one of my things I say. I say golf is easy. And of course, people laugh. Oh, golf's really hard.
No.
It's not. It's not hard if you simplify it and you understand how it applies to you. Golf is very simple because only a couple things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you can build up energy and use it efficiently and understand it, you'll always have that in your back pocket. You'll always be able to go back to that. If things are going bad, you'll make a couple of practice swings. You'll feel your hands tighten up, or you'll feel your body move back and forth laterally rather than just relaxing and rotating. And I know that's a common theme. You're not going to get many arguments from golf professionals that read the power principle. They're going to say, well, yeah, I teach this all the time. This guy just put names to everything. Like no one's ever calling anything the power paradox. It sounds, almost science fiction. But in reality, it's just a relaxed rotation where your hands are just whipping around your body that we've all done how many times in our lives, but no one's ever bothered to name it or explain it. And that's all we do. We just explain how it happens and why it happens. And
you do it in a way that's simple, and it's not technical at all. And then just like this interview is, we see the personality of it. And in the pages of Power Principle Golf, like your personality comes out and the storytelling, which is how things stick. It's just like if you just keep giving fact after fact, it's like there's a law of diminishing returns. You're going to forget a lot. But like good stories told in a simple way, where personality and familiar names are showcased, that's what makes it stick. And that's what I think you accomplish. And I'm so damn proud of you, Will.
No, thank you so much. I'm really happy. I learned my lesson. I read The Physics of Golf by Jorge Jorgensen, and it is just, if I ever want to get to sleep, and it's a great book. It's all right. Everything is great. The Physics of Golf is super, but I can't read it. it's so boring. It's very dry. Yeah, and I
thought about when I was in college and I needed to go to sleep, and I was like laying in bed looking at the ceiling. I'm like, could that professor that like taught my physics class earlier come by only need it for 30 seconds, and bam, bang.
Yeah, you got that, and you got the hat over like this. You pull it down so you can't see you're sleeping. They know that. They must know that. Why do we wear baseball pants for physics? Yeah, it's some boring stuff. But now I love astrophysics. It's so funny as you get older. Now you start to like that stuff because it's so
you can apply it. We have an appreciation for everything. Yeah. I mean, I hated to read when I was younger. Now I love it.
Well, now we weren't hungover either. We weren't hungover in physics class because that was tough. Probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A couple times for me. For you too. I think that makes us normal. Will, where can people get the book?
They can get it on Amazon and Kindle, and it's out right now. I think they're going to enjoy it. It's an easy read. It's only 140 pages, but the great thing about the book is you can just go to a chapter that applies to you if you want to learn about the power paradox, because there are some redundancies in the book that apply to every chapter. Or you could go to glide chipping. Everybody tells me right now that glide chipping is their favorite chapter, because when you're down in Florida and we deal with so much grain down here, it helps you chip without ever taking a divot. And it sounds crazy, but when you understand it and do it, my brother Hugh couldn't believe it when we were doing it. And then I showed him, and he rolls his forearms and moves his body when he chips. So I'm trying to, even to this day.
Totally different way down here. Like, you cannot take your northern chipping game does not travel to Florida or anywhere else. There's Bermuda. And I like the fact that you said you can cherry pick stuff and jump around, because you know what? There's like, it's not like we're in school where you got to start at the beginning and work your way. You just go where you want. All right. And go back and reread it. All right.
If you're a tall, thin guy, go right to the rotation versus resistance ratio chapter, and you'll go, okay, now I get why I have to resist my turn and why that keeps me still and how that gets my big money. It's a lot of simple stuff, but a lot of it hasn't been explained well over the years. And a lot of golf books, unfortunately, contradict themselves, and they really don't have to, because you could take stack and tilt, or now it's just stack, or some other things, the golf machine, and all these different philosophies. Well, the power principle applies to every one of them, because the one constant is power. You have to have power to be able to start the golf swing.
Well, great job, my man. This is, I look at this as a good read, a necessary read, something of a reference book. You can read it, put it on the shelf, go back to it, something of a golf Bible. Well done, my man. Let's play golf. All right. You get that foot healed, and we got to get out and play some golf. Sound like a deal?
I'm looking forward to it. I'll have you down to Selfish Sands.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, big thanks to our title sponsors, BioLit Spa in Sarasota. Also, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try Party. Will did. He loves it. And it's a great time to buy if you're looking for real estate on a great golf course like Lakewood Nationals, 2 golf courses, Piper and the Commander course. Get in touch with Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com. For Will Reilly, the author of Power Principle Golf, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.